Oh, man, what happened last night?
PlayStation 4 won't impose any new restrictions on the use of PS4 game discs. When a gamer buys a PS4 disc, they have the rights to use that copy of the game. They can trade in the game at retail, sell it to another person, lend it to a friend, or keep it forever.
No, that can't be right.
In addition, PlayStation 4 disc-based games don't need to be connected online to play.
Why is there a McLaren P1 on the balcony? Oh god, I just remembered something else.
I'm very proud to announce that PlayStation 4 will be available at $399.
That's better. So, Sony had a pretty good conference, right?
Yeah.
You could say that, yeah.
Kind of smashed it. I think actually what's really interesting, and it's a point that's been made elsewhere, is that actually Sony just said consoles are going to work exactly the way they used to, and everyone was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah. That's how bad it had gotten.
Yeah.
All we needed was a little bit of reassurance.
Yeah.
Things will stay the same. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so how does it reflect directly on the Xbox One showing earlier in the day?
It really doesn't reflect well at all. I mean, you just had to listen to the crowd reaction in the Sony conference. The place
positive.
went mental.
Yeah.
They had a really self-indulgent montage of shots of the crowd just reacting to it.
I would have.
Yeah.
I would have.
I bet that was in the script as well. They're like, cut to crowd.
Yeah, dude's just t-shirt helicoptering.
Leave 5 minutes for.
Even Jack
reaction
Tretton had
shots.
like a moment where he just chuckled because he knew.
It is a good day to
I'm
be
surprised
Jack Tretton.
Jack Tretton didn't just pitch himself into the crowd and crowd surf to the back of the room. So
Had like a Zorba ball and he just like rolls to the back of the auditorium.
Yeah.
So for those who missed the PlayStation conference because it was on quite late,
Essentially,
essentially
that's true. Sorry,
the deal
UK.
is it doesn't need to check in ever. Apparently. The games are tied to the disc, so you can hand your disc to someone to lend it to them, or you can sell it if you like.
No
selling
change to
games.
the pre-owned. Yeah.
Yeah, no change to the
System,
pre-owned thing.
Such as it is.
And
They even put out that hilarious trolling video that's like, here's how you share a PlayStation game.
Sony are trolling so hard. Right now.
yeah.
It's pretty funny,
it is
actually.
pretty
It's
funny.
not what I anticipate from Sony. So fair play.
And
Yeah.
the final aspect is that it is going to be $399.
And likewise, similar costs in the euro.
Right, so it's
and
350
UK
quid.
pound dollar.
£350.
value.
So it's about, what are we talking, like 80 quid cheaper in the UK? Which is a big deal.
That is a big deal. Plus, the other thing is that it's region free. So, I mean, you could.
Which they missed in the conference, but they just decided to drop that on Twitter as well, just to further put the boot in.
So, if you wanted, you could pick one up in the States, and the conversion works out at about, what was it, £250, something like that. Bring it back, and it would work in the UK. So, I mean, that's pretty huge.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. I think the price is perhaps the biggest deal, just because when you've got two consoles that are relatively similar in terms of spec, and you'll get a lot of the same multi-platform games, I think price is a big deal.
But we were discussing this earlier, that the PlayStation 4 doesn't come with any kind of camera, whereas the Xbox One comes with the Kinect, and presumably that's the root of the extra $100. But a consumer doesn't see, oh, I get this amazing revolutionary camera with it. They just see this costs $100 more than a PlayStation.
Also, they see it's a Kinect.
Also, they see it's a Kinect. I don't want a Kinect. But
If they do, like you say, if they do see that it's the Kinect that's bumping the price up, like Microsoft, much as I like Kinect and enjoy it, Microsoft hasn't done enough to prove that it's worth. Maybe Kinect 2 is going to be amazing, right? We don't know that yet.
Yeah.
And if Kinect 1 had been this huge success and maintained success and had gained a hardcore sort of acceptance, then it would be fine to say, well, Kinect 2 is going to be in it and you're all going to want it. But actually, at the moment, it's that extra £100 or however many.
Can they afford to subsidise it though? Can they afford to say it's a mandatory component for the Xbox One and also subsidise it?
As in drop the
Therefore,
price.
to bring the price down,
The thing I was wondering is if they could offer a different SKU of the Xbox One where they don't have a Kinect in there, and they could sell it for $100 less. But it sounds like it's so integral to the way the machine operates that they're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think
that
it's
doesn't
just
seem like
central to
something
their
they
thing.
can change at this point. There are other things they could change. I mean, we were talking about backpedaling and what issues Xbox can and can't go back on.
Well, I think that, as we said in our previous video where we were talking about the sort of the Microsoft conference, we were talking about what they could do.
Yeah.
I don't actually. I don't think the 24-hour online thing's necessary. I think they could easily axe that and still maintain. They've got enough other sort of contingencies in terms of DRM that it would not be a problem.
It doesn't seem a tenable position anymore after that Sony conference.
I think
super easily extend it. I mean, maybe that's not what people want to hear, but if you went from once every 24 hours to once a month, then people might be able to stomach that.
Yeah.
I don't think the price is going to drop. I just don't think they're going to. I think the hardware costs are the thing that's pushing it up, and that it's going to stay the same because they can't afford to make a huge loss on every single console.
We were at an Xbox event last night, and how would you describe the atmosphere, Mike?
Did anyone
I would say
hang
Microsoft
themselves?
were actually pretty bullish about it,
Yeah.
and I get the impression that blindly or otherwise they believe this is the correct long-term strategy and that this is a short-term victory for Sony and it's going to pay off in the long run. But you need the early adopters. You can't afford to lose a short-term victory to Sony at this stage because it's so crucial. They can't afford to be second out of the blocks when the consoles are so similar.
And when the pre-orders have now opened, we've got prices for both, we've got release windows for both, pre-orders have started, and people will be pre-ordering the console that they are interested in.
Do you remember the Sega Saturn was $100 more than the Sony PlayStation came out around the same time?
It was also less powerful. Let's not forget. But
it was.
You're right.
But
the price is a huge deal.
Yeah,
it's really important. It was interesting. Phil Spencer came on stage yesterday at this event, and he described it as a good start for the Xbox One at E3.
Which conference were you watching?
Yeah, right.
That was the EA conference.
I mean, he didn't come out and say everything's amazing. I suppose. I think maybe a good start is about as close.
He
He
didn't come out with like glitter cannons and champagne.
Now everyone drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, here are the shins. Yeah,
So I was a bit worried it was going to be a little more frosty and awkward.
Like a wake.
It did feel like we were going to a wake. But you know what?
Like a green wake.
It's easy. It's easy, like a red wedding, but a green wake. But the thing about it is that actually, like when you look back at the Microsoft conference, it's completely skewed. Like we were like relatively positive coming out of the Microsoft conference. Lots of good games to look forward to, and actually, I don't think Sony smashed it on games.
No, I think
but it's
the
just
Xbox One has the stronger lineup of exclusive titles. Dead Rising 3 and Titanfall are both amazing exclusives.
There's a game called The Order on PS4 which looks quite neat. But that was pretty much the only big deal. The rest of them were kind of presented as kind of exclusives or not exclusives, but like exclusive
special relationships.
Exactly, but most stuff like Elder Scrolls Online that was shown there, Mad Max that was shown there,
Kingdom Hearts,
and Final Fantasy will no doubt be.
There's Kingdom Hearts.
Coming to
really?
Yeah, so a lot of these are like they were shown at the conference, but that's become the thing now. In the same way that Battlefield 4 was at the Microsoft conference. But so I don't think Sony smashed it on games at all. It was just people are so against these DRM restrictions and the pre-owned thing that's how you win E3 by saying, and kudos to Sony for coming out and doing it, because a lot of people would, we were saying earlier, there's no way they'll talk about DRM in a press conference, an E3
press conference. That's so unsexy, but it's not when your main competitor.
And when that's the thing
that
causes the crowd to go mental.
That's the thing, like looking at the reaction during the Sony press conference, they were like, "Oh, they're talking about Netflix. Oh, this is really boring."
There was that moment,
and then
our cameraman James fell asleep at that point, which I thought was brilliant because it was perfectly timed. Just as they were talking about movies, he dozed off. But I thought they were really, I thought they were about to screw it up. I thought they were about to launch.
I think that was the wind up, like as in they were
pulling back for the.
They were fully prepared for the reaction to multimedia announcements, but it was just showmanship.
They announced now that you have to pay for online as well, and
that was completely buried.
Right, you have to pay for multiplayer, as in they're moving the multiplayer offering from PlayStation, PlayStation Network's free account to PlayStation Plus, and in any other conference that would have been like a boo hiss moment. But it was quite neatly buried under some other sweeteners for PlayStation Plus, and then in the context of the rest of the conference, it was as a drop in the ocean.
Yeah,
but it shows how badly Microsoft has misjudged consumer reaction to this kind of to digital rights and to the always online stuff. I mean, they seem to think that people will just go, oh, well, I guess that's how it's going to be. I guess we'll just have to deal with it.
So how does it happen, that kind of misjudgment? Is it like corporate groupthink that's sort of doesn't have any grasp of how people are going to react to it, or were they aware how people were going to react to it, and they're like, we'll take the hit now? I
think you might be onto something with the kind of the long-term strategy thing. They know that it's going to be unpopular in the short term, but if it comes off, then this is going to be an incredibly profitable move for Microsoft.
It's kind of the sort of arrogance that only the kind of market leader can have at this point. We were saying yesterday that Sony is hungrier. It's
having lost the previous, this generation.
Yeah, in second place, it has to listen to its audience in a way that Microsoft can thought it can sort of afford not to.
But it's not even like it was difficult for them. Microsoft made it so easy. They just, all Sony had to do was go, nothing's going to change, and everyone is heralding it as the new.
On the price. Sorry.
All I was going to say was that I suspect that actually it was always planned to be like that. Microsoft has these grand plans for a move towards digital. I think Sony's a more traditional, gaming company, and they'd set their console up to be as it always had been. And then this bad press, Microsoft has just given them an open goal, and they've slotted it home.
But presumably Microsoft have been going around games publishers, going, right, we've got this new system whereby this is how pre-owned is going to work. Sony haven't been doing that. Surely Microsoft must have known at some point that Sony weren't going to be doing this.
It's difficult to know how much of that information gets circulated and things. There are non-disclosure agreements that are legally binding that mean that a third-party publisher that when Microsoft arrives goes, yeah, Sony aren't doing this stuff. That's like that would be cause for legal action. So I'd imagine they're being very careful about it. But you would assume that just people talk in this industry. People discuss things. So I wonder whether it's been publicised certainly on video games websites that. Microsoft cancelled all of its executive appointments. They had a load of interviews scheduled, and they cancelled them all in the immediate aftermath.
So you think they knew it was going to be like this?
I suspect they maybe know they're going to take a hit, but they've also got to go and regroup, and they have to do something. And I'm sure they will do something to placate the crowds, because they can't be unaware. In the same way that Sony was so aware of the Twitter backlash and things like that they put it in their conference.
Yeah.
Microsoft must know now, and it's not something you can ignore.
Yeah. So do you think we'll see anything soon, or
nothing during E3? I don't think.
Down
I think once the dust has settled at E3, there'll be an announcement or something. But it's again, like we said, how much can you realistically change about that console?
Yeah.
One other thing on the price, we were speculating that the way Sony revealed the price with that slide with the very bare bones kind of picture of the console, three different prices, that was like whipped up at the last minute, because you would expect like a flashy, maybe like swooshy animation with the price reveal, but you were speculating.
Well, it was just a white background.
I
genuinely think they
waited till Microsoft announced and then they went right.
They had 6 hours, right? They could have. I don't think they could have got in contact with Japan necessarily, but they definitely.
I think Japan will probably up.
They're probably watching it, won't they? So all the execs are here, and I guess you can make those decisions. But I genuinely think to undercut it by $100.
It's like Microsoft didn't learn from Sony's mistake, all those years ago when they announced the pricing on the PS3, and it was so much above.
Yeah,
above the 360.
It'd be great if it was just written in marker pen on a flipboard.
Yeah,
they're just like that much.
How about that?
Yeah, okay. No, wait. Oh God, we've gone too low.
All right, so that's Microsoft on the back foot here on officially day one of E3 2013. We're going to head out on the floor and have a look at the games because ostensibly that's what it's all about. But yeah, it remains to be seen how Microsoft can, if they can, pull it back.